played at high volume. Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
It is time to get out of pocket. I am your host, Michael Davis. Big show in store for you guys today. I'm trying to keep a positive mindset after what happened last night, but I am joined by Trevor Everette from the Two Pointers podcast. We may have a little surprise for people here in just a couple minutes, and then we're also joined by the producer of Tobacco Road Sports Radio, Desmond Johnson. Super excited, guys. To have you guys on the air, to get to talk to you, but not super excited about the Miami Heat. Their season officially ended. I mean, we saw this coming when the Jimmy Butler injury happened, but it's begging questions. The Miami Heat made the NBA Finals last year as a play-in team. They made it back in 2020 as like a fourth or a fifth seed. And so I'm hearing all these people online of like Miami's windows closed and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I'm going to just pose that to you guys because I have my own thoughts and I don't want to come across as biased when I give those thoughts. So I wanted to hear first from Trevor. Do you think Miami Heat's windows closed? And do you think this postseason run would have ended differently if Jimmy Butler didn't get hurt in the first place?
So I like this question because you're in this weird parallel where you have Bam Adebayo's 26 years old. Like, that's an incredible age for a guy that's on a really good contract for a star. Obviously, they've drafted really well recently with Jaime Jaquez and some others. You're at this point where, honestly, to answer your question, I don't have a great answer, to be clear. But to answer your question, I look at it the same way I looked at the Atlanta Hawks run in 2021, right? Last year's finals run is going to give Heat fans and maybe the Heat organization a sense of delusion that might, give them a sense of direction problem where it's, okay, we have this aging superstar in Jimmy Butler. We have this young core. I really think that they should try to get what they can for Butler and kind of know they have a young team. You're still going to be fighting in the 6 to 8 seed range, even when you're going to have a young team like that. They could still be in that same position. I think what happened with the Hawks in 2021 gave the Hawks fans and Hawks organization a sense of delusion where they went out and got DeJounte Murray. That was the peak of what they were going to do, and it was a bit of an overachievement. I think last year feels the same for the Miami Heat. Even though they've been consistently competitive, last year I think is going to cloud the judgment of where the direction of the franchise needs to go.
Well, I told you guys we might have a surprise for you, a little treat. We got Carsen, and you guys can be a part of the channel. You guys can comment on our YouTube channel, and it pops up here on our screen as we're broadcasting live. That's why we are live during your lunch break. Carsen, I'll pose the question, Trevor, and I'll pose it to you right now. Has the Miami Heat's window closed after they got out in 5 games and Jimmy Butler was out the entire series? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think their window is closed. I just don't really see any way to recover just with how really talented the league is right now. We've got the Bucks, and I think that the Bucks this year have been a disappointment. Obviously, they're hurt. But with one more year to kind of mesh and do everything, I like their chances a lot more. And then obviously you got the Celtics in the East who just don't look like they're going to go anywhere. I really don't think anything would have looked different even if Miami had a fully healthy team, just because of the talent disparity. I think they may have taken one more game, but ultimately I don't think they would have had a chance to win that series. I think that their chances are probably done. I think they've kind of held on longer than they should have already. They should not have been as competitive as they have been. It's been a lot of like Miami magic, and I don't think that you can kind of sustain that. So I think that they're probably going to have to move on and either throw it into rebuild mode or trade some of these pieces and get surrounding guys. So I don't really know what's next for the Miami Heat, but I don't think that they're going to be winning a championship anytime soon.
Des, what are your thoughts when you look at this Miami Heat team?
For start, my first question was Miami in a window? Like, Were they in the window? Because they've never been like a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. They've just made runs in the postseason. So I don't know if I could qualify them as a contender, like going into each of these seasons where they've ended up going further than anybody expected them to go. Jimmy Butler is in his mid 30s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You mentioned Bam is 26. I would imagine, knowing Pat Riley and what the Heat typically do at this time, they'll clear the roster out and try to bring in some sort of star or two, free agent wise, like cue the LeBron back to Miami rumors, or LeBron and Durant linking up in Miami or whatever. Like that's what I feel like is going to end up happening with Miami. As the quote unquote window closed for this group that's with them right now. Yes, I don't even think there was a window. I just think their opportunity to advance in the Eastern Conference as currently constructed doesn't exist, because between the Celtics, the Knicks, the 76ers are going to get right, the Bucks, if they're healthy, like all of that, like there's too much in front of Miami the way they're currently constructed to be able to compete at a high level in the Eastern Conference. They're going to have to probably blow it up and pick who they're going to build around. Bam, which probably is the only safe one. But don't be surprised, man. Like I could see, because the thing right now, people are saying if LeBron wants to win title number 5, he's gonna have to go back east. He ain't going back to Cleveland. I could see a scenario where he looks at Miami and goes, if you draft Ronnie and you can get KD out of Phoenix, and we got Bam, let's try that. Like I don't know. He just seems like it's not out of the realm of possibility. And I'm a Lakers fan saying this. So
it is very parallel to the Lakers move too. The young big that's really good, but
Yep.
the problem is money. Philly's the only team in the East that he's realistically going to go to. We've talked about this before. Detroit, Charlotte, New Orleans, all these teams that have actual cap space. They got to figure it out. Obviously, he wants the full, like that whole thing with the Heat in the past going back to Cleveland. It's all cap leverage. It's all leverage to try to get him a better contract. Right now, I think it's 3-year, 176 or 167 or something stupid like that. So, who's really going to pay that? Obviously, the Lakers have made it proven that they're going to pay their stars. That's why Kobe got the contract he did in the last couple of years of his career. But I don't know. I'm still up in the air with the whole LeBron talking about the leverage thing. I just don't know what's going to happen.
And apparently, the Lakers are considering giving him a max contract.
That's what I was referring to. The 3-year, whatever, 3-year, a stupid number.
So I don't even know, and I didn't even have this prepared for you guys. I just like, it came up to my mind. Would you give LeBron a max contract at this stage of his career? Trevor's shaking his head no vehemently.
how long?
If I'm the Lakers, no. If I'm the Lakers and I want to contend, Anthony Davis is the piece you have to build around. And at that point, that's why I wouldn't give it to him. I would offer him what I feel comfortable offering him. So because notice in his entire time, really anywhere he's been, but even recently, we got excited at the trade deadline 2 years ago. We got excited in last year's free agency. We're like, oh, they got Taurean Prince, they got this, and they got these little pieces. That's not going to get it done, right? So giving him what he wants is not going to help the betterment of the team moving forward. And I think that really helps him. Think about it. Obviously, you mentioned the East is probably where it'd be easier to get. Yeah, probably. But the West was so good this year. They both played the most games they had played since 2019. Anthony Davis and LeBron, I think it was 2019, 2018. And ultimately, they were a 7 seed. So that's got to matter some. And I'm not saying it's LeBron's fault. It's definitely not. When he's on the floor, he's an incredible offensive player. Defensively, there's questions, of course. But what you can give him, I mean, look, you're LeBron. It's the Lakers. They're going to probably do it. But if it's me answering your question, I'm not giving it to him, because at that point you're forcing him to go other directions and figure it out. And if there's not out there, he'll take what you're going to give him. Potentially.
The Lakers messed up by not keeping their bubble core together. The team that won the title in the bubble with Alex Caruso and Dwight Howard and those guys, they lost their sense of identity a little bit, because they're still using LeBron as if it's at Miami Heat LeBron, where like you can go find 2 star players, put them with them, and just put a bunch of bench players around them, and they'll go win 60 games. That's not the case anymore. Like you can't do that, especially with a 38-year-old LeBron James. So they've kind of done that with the Lakers the past 2 or 3 years, where they've kind of cleared out all the riffraff. They've gave AD his money, they gave LeBron his money, and then they just kind of try to put pieces around them and hope they could congeal and actually duplicate what LeBron's done in the past with other teams. But Father Time's undefeated. He's still scoring 26 points per game or whatever. But how much are those points really worth when your team is still, the 7th seed and a loaded West? And like your team didn't want any parts of Minnesota. Like, no, They didn't win parts of Minnesota at all. So, like, I don't know, man. Like, LeBron's probably going to stay in LA. Some of the comments he made in postgame during this playoff series made me feel like he's kind of content just playing for the Lakers and doing all this extra stuff he's doing in LA. His family's in LA. I don't know if he necessarily need or wants another champ. Well, I shouldn't say want. He wants another championship. I don't know how necessarily it is for him to actually get one.
That's an interesting point. I feel like when LeBron doesn't win a title, there's other scapegoats. Like right now, it seems to be like Darvin Ham is the scapegoat, even though LeBron, pushed for Darvin Ham to be the coach of the Lakers in the first place. And like we saw that situation last year with the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, when Budenholzer got fired after that first round loss to the Miami Heat, they're like, Budenholzer's the problem. We'll bring in Damian Lillard. Well, now Damian's hurt. Giannis is hurt. They missed the playoff game together. And now the Bucks are losing this series right now to the Pacers. They're down 3-2. Carsen, was it fair, Milwaukee, to have Budenholzer as a scapegoat last year? Because, I mean, if the Bucks don't win this series, I could see Giannis leaving the Bucks.
No, I don't think Giannis is going to leave the Bucks. I also don't think that Budenholzer should have been the scapegoat. He's a really good coach. Like, he's a good basketball coach, and I didn't think that they should have moved off of him. Like, who were you going to bring in? And they brought in Adrian Griffin, who wasn't proven, and now he is proven to not be a good basketball coach. And now they've got Doc Rivers, who has been proven to not be a very good basketball coach. So no, it wasn't fair of them to and I don't think Mike Budenholzer was all that great last playoffs. I do know that he's proven to be a better coach than Adrian Griffin and Doc Rivers. So the Miami Bucks have really kind of handcuffed themselves to poor coaching, and Giannis is great and Dame is great, but I don't know if you can really overcome that poor coaching.
Trevor, I see you making faces over there. And if you're not watching on the YouTube channel, like, what are you doing, guys? Like, comment, be a part of the show, and watch Trevor's face right underneath the Gun and Roses hat right there.
Was it fair? Life's not fair, neither's the NBA. So let me just make that abundantly clear. Hindsight's 2020, but it was a bad fire. I'm with Carsen there. I mean, it's a terrible fire because at the end of the day, like, you look back on it and you go, okay, what was really their biggest problem? At that time, it wasn't defensively. They got rid of Drew Holiday. That was their bigger problem. So ultimately, I'm not going to spend 40 minutes trying to give you a detailed, drawn-out answer. But at the end of the day, Doc Rivers, as bad as he is in playoff situations, the injuries of this year's team is not his fault, ultimately, and people are going to know that. The organization's going to understand that. But he's still a really good coach. I think that gets – I almost feel like he's historically bad playoff-wise. I mean, he's one of the worst playoff coaches when it comes to series being down. Like, we know that. That's a statistical fact. But he's still a really good coach. And obviously, I think another year with a team that he can figure out and work with the organization to gel with, I think will be a good thing. But to answer the Bud question, hindsight's 2020, but it was a bad fire.
Yeah, and the fact that they've had 3 head coaches in 12 months is not good at all whatsoever. Des, do you feel like coaches are made out to be the scapegoat when these teams don't perform to their highest ability?
No, I don't know if the coach can't play the game. Like, the coach isn't out there shooting and passing the ball. Like, the players still have to execute. And I hear that all the time, from coaches. They're like, look, we can't do everything. But didn't Budenholzer, didn't he have like a death in the family? Didn't his brother pass away or something? And that's kind of what pulled him away from the Bucks to begin with. So
his brother was killed, I think.
Something happened to his brother, and the year after he went through that season, and I think realized he shouldn't have coached or something like that, and then that's when they kind of parted ways. I don't know. I think Doc is getting kind of a bad rap because he came in the middle of the season for start. Well, not middle, but he came in after the season already started, and he hasn't had Giannis and Dame the full season. They've been injured throughout. Plus, again, they traded off Drew Holiday, so I don't know if it's necessarily the coach's fault or if it's Milwaukee just hasn't had enough time to really gel. Even those early 2000 Miami Heat teams with LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh, they didn't win their first year together either. Like, I mean, it just takes some time to put stuff together. really the Boston Celtics with Garnett and Pierce and Allen are the only ones I could think of that had success immediately, like that first year of construing all that stuff. So also keep in mind, Giannis and Dame are both in their 30s too. We're watching a changing of the guard in the NBA right now, where the younger talent like Anthony Edwards, they're pushing this to a different level, and the older guys are the ones that are in the 6 seed, 7 seed, 8 seeds, or losing early, like a Jimmy Butler or possibly Milwaukee.
To hammer your point too, and it's something that I think has been already said a lot this week on sports talk radio and shows, but it needs to be said here, is that we're starting to see teams that are actually well-built teams win, right? Look how the Bucks won their championship, right? Drew Holiday wasn't this superstar, right? Even Chris Middleton wasn't. He was a really good scorer, but he was a second option. You had one big star. They built a really deep and good team around him, around Giannis. This team is really top heavy, right? This team isn't super deep when they lose a guy like Bobby Portis to a dumb, punch suspension or whoever it was, right? That doesn't help them. And then just quickly on the Budenholzer thing, just for the respect of the situation, I just wanted to make sure we said it correctly. His brother passed away in a car accident before Game 4 of the team's first round playoff series against Miami in 2023. So just want to make sure I laid that out clearly. So
Yeah, which is a horrible situation. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But the Bucks are down 3-2 in this series. And there's a few teams who are down 3-2. You have the Clippers down 3-2 to the Mavs after last night's game. The Bucks, the Magic are down 3-2 to Carsen's Cavaliers. The 76ers are down 3-2 to the Knicks right now. And so of those 4 teams, who do you think has the best chance to come back down 3-2? Carsen, is it the Magic against your Cavaliers?
Let's see. We had the Clippers against the Mavs. We had Magic, Cavs, Sixers, Knicks, and who's the other?
And Bucks.
Oh,
to
Pacers.
the Pacers.
It might be the Magic. And I don't want to say that as a Cavs fan, but I didn't realize how low the floor was for this Cavs team when Donovan Mitchell isn't playing well. We look like a G team, like a G League team. Darius Garland, who was an ascending superstar, he was an all-star. He was one of my favorite point guards in the league. He's awful. He's been terrible this last series, and really he hasn't been right this entire season. And it's a fundamental, just like what Trevor said, it's a roster construction issue. And I was curious because we went with the 2 big, great defensive anchors, and then we went with the great offensive, but liability defensively guards. And I was like, maybe they'll counteract each other, and we can still have a great defense with these bigs, and we can still have a great offense with these guards. It's been redundant, and we just don't have the depth necessary. And the floor is just too low. And the ceiling isn't high enough when we don't have Darius Garland playing like Darius Garland is supposed to. So I've been really nervous about this series. I thought that the Cavs had it easily after the first 2 games. But it's been really, really ugly. Yeah, I'm going to say it's the Magic versus the Cavs. I think that the other teams I like Dallas in that series against the Clippers. Sixers, Knicks can be scary, but I still like the Knicks there. And then Pacers, I think, have got this locked up against the Bucks. So I'm going to say the Magic.
And Trevor and I are in a few group chats with Carsen, and for him to say anything negative about the Cavs is like impressive. I feel like this is history right here.
I respect it as someone who's a fan of a really large team and program like that gets plenty of discourse. So I think it's he should be harsher on them than they should sometimes, than people are sometimes. I don't feel confident about any of these teams doing it, so I power rank them from 1 to 4, most confident to least confident. 76ers, Magic, Clippers, Bucks. I'll be very quick. Sixers because it's Joel Embiid. Sorry, the thumbs up thing came up again. YouTube audience have a field day with that one. 76ers because obviously Joel Embiid, I know the Bell's palsy and the knee and all kinds of stuff. It seems like he's still feeling good, getting healthy, right? He's continuing to get back. Obviously, it's 2 sides of that coin. I'm not a doctor, so I'll just say this, right? Some people, it's okay, well, each game further is getting more comfortable, but you also can injure yourself more, right? So there's just wash there. Maxi's an incredible player and has shown he's continued to step up to the moment. Those two guys alone can help them win that series. Magic, because I've just always believed in this Magic team this year. I've always thought that if they drew like a Cleveland, or if Mitchell wasn't playing well, that they could take advantage. Paolo's jumped into this absolute superstardom role that I didn't even see coming. I had Chet won in that draft that year, and I still feel wrong about it. Like, even though it's a really great choice, I feel wrong about it. Paolo's an incredible one. Clippers, look, if they don't play Kawhi, they still have a competitive chance. I know last night they lost by 30, but they've beaten this team twice. So obviously you can't rule them out. I put the Bucks fourth because no Dame, no Giannis. They are potentially trying to come back tonight for Game 6. I will say that. That happened about 30 minutes ago. They tweeted that. Shams did. At the end of the day, I think this Pacers team's just playing and wants it more. At the end of the day, they want it more. They want it really bad. I know they're really bad defensively, but when you have to guard Chris Middleton and the likes of the rest of the cast, I'm trying to be nice there, then I think you just have to think that at home tonight, Indiana has one of the best basketball environments, period, in the country. I think that the Pacers get it done there. So 76ers, Magic, Clippers, Bucks in that order from most confident to least confident.
All right, Des, what do you say?
So I was thinking about this most of the morning today in terms of which one I would pick to actually come back. Out of these four choices, I would probably say that probably the Clippers, actually. But it's so much dependent on who's available and who actually plays when they are available. The guys that the Clippers had out there the other night all played badly. Harden looked like he didn't want to be there. Westbrook had 2 points or something on 11 shots. Paul George played horrible. Kawhi's not even in uniform. So it's like, it just depends on what they have available in terms of actual players. But if not the Clippers, I got to go with the 76ers. I mean, they've got the reigning MVP in Joel Embiid. I don't know how healthy he might be, but that should always give them a shot. The Knicks are kind of in unfamiliar territory. They've got a lot of the nation kind of looking at them now in terms of, hey, the Knicks are back. So it's like, it's a different vibe for the Knicks than they're used to the past couple of years. But I would go with one of those, either the Clippers or the 76ers.
So just really quick, just to see like how confident we were. I know Vegas isn't exactly the best thing to go off of all the time, but just to give you an idea of where, Vegas knows all. We all know that half the time, at least. In my order, at least the way I had them, Sixers plus 300 to win the series, Magic plus 320, Clippers plus 650. So nobody believes in the Clippers clearly, and then Bucks plus 310. The Bucks one surprises me a lot.
Here's my thought on it. What we got to think, like, what are the chances of the Knicks breaking down and not having a great game? What are the chances of the Cavaliers breaking down and not having a great game? What are the chances of Dallas? I don't think Dallas is. I think Dallas is probably good. Kyrie and Luka. The offensive star power is kind of too much, and you got to have a great game from all of the Clippers guys. And James Harden has been playing the best basketball of anybody on that team, and that's really not good. You can't have James Harden playing the best basketball on your team if you want to win this series. And then the Bucks, the Pacers are a really well-constructed team, in my opinion. Halliburton and Siakam flow well together. And then even Miles Turner can step out and hit. Like, I really like that roster construction. I don't think that any team out west, at least, or really in the entire playoffs, have the chance to completely fall apart like Cleveland does. That's really sad to say, but I think it's true. I don't think anybody has a lower floor than Cleveland and in the entire bracket.
Now, I will point out, I did something last year where I was like, oh, Miami's like going to get, destroyed by Boston. Oh, Miami's going to get destroyed by Milwaukee. And I like set my expectations low. So when they exceeded them, it was met with enthusiasm. And I went the exact opposite way this year and was like, yeah, Miami can handle Boston. Like, even if Jimmy Butler's out, like it's bleak and it's not looking good. And then, of course, look what happened. So Carsen might be playing some like reverse psychology because the Cavaliers are listening to Out of Pocket with Michael Davis on Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel as part of your lunch break hour. We do a quick 30 minutes each day, 12:30 to 1. So super excited to have you guys tune in, share it with your friends, get the word out what we're doing, because there's not a daily sports show around this hour in the Triad area. So super happy to do that. Sean Lucas, by the way, on YouTube, thank you for the compliment right there. Really appreciate you and all the stuff that you do for Out of Pocket and drop the mic and being on the Tobacco Road content. But we gotta get out of here. It's a couple minutes past 1. So thank you guys for staying a little bit longer. We'll be back tomorrow, 12:30 to 1. We'll do some more NBA playoff coverage. The Cat Cave aired yesterday. Go check it out. It's our 50th episode. And go check out Trevor Everette from the 2 Pointers podcast. He's sending his love to myself and everybody else on Out of Pocket. And go follow Carsen on his Twitter. Go follow Des. Subscribe to the Tobacco Road's YouTube channel so you guys can catch what we're doing every day throughout the week. So for Michael Davis, Trevor Everette from 2 Pointers, Carsen Williams, and producer Desmond Johnson, it's been Out of Pocket, and we will see you guys tomorrow afternoon.